by quill and charm, my little court vipers. Welcome back to Queen's Court Gossip, the only medieval tea party where your scepter is sharp, your tongue is sharper. I'm your bard turned busybody, and today we're setting our sights on a king who made England mighty, France nervous, and the nobility deeply uncomfortable. Edward III of England, founder of the Order of the Garter, warrior, reformer, and subject of whispers so suspicious they'd make a monk sweat through his hair shirt. Today we're talking possible illegitimacy, forbidden love, obsessive mother issues, and maybe, just maybe, a queen who wielded more power than her crown ever admitted. Let's spill. Edward was born in 1312 to Queen Isabella and the much-maligned Edward II, but was he really his father's son? That's the first drop of court scandal in our goblet today. See, by the time Edward III came along, Isabella and Edward II's marriage was, let's call it hostile cohabitation. Edward was obsessed with his favorites. First Piers Gaveston, then the notoriously vicious Hugh Despenser the Younger. Isabella, humiliated and sidelined, was allegedly cut off financially and politically, and lived more like a prisoner than a queen. So when baby Edward arrived, tongues wagged. Was he really Edward II's heir, or was he the product of a quiet affair with a local noble? Or maybe even Roger Mortimer? Now, no chronicler dared say it outright, because accusing the queen of adultery was dangerous business. But the timing and the icy royal atmosphere left room for gossip. Some nobles in the 1320s reportedly refused to recognize young Edward as legitimate heir. Not because they doubted the bloodline, but because the bloodline felt convenient. And when Isabella and Mortimer overthrew Edward II and put young Edward III on the throne in 1327, rumors hit a fever pitch. Was this boy king truly the son of a deposed monarch, or the carefully groomed puppet of two lovers with a grudge and a long game? Let's talk about the weird triangle of Edward III, his mother Isabella, and her lover, Roger Mortimer. After the deposition of Edward II, Edward III is technically king. But he's only 14, and his mother and Mortimer rule as de facto regents. Mortimer, freshly titled and newly rich, starts behaving like a shadow king. He walks out of Edward III in court processions. He grants titles and holds the keys to everything. And Isabella? She's radiant, powerful, rumored to be sleeping in Mortimer's chambers at Nottingham Castle, just down the hall from her teenage son. It's giving medieval Game of Thrones. Now, no contemporary source ever confirms an incestuous undertone, but the 14-year-old Edward is forced to stand by while his mother and her lover run the kingdom. In his name, the boy who's supposed to be king becomes little more than a figurehead, until he snaps. In 1330, at just 17, Edward stages a coup in the middle of the night. With a handful of loyalists, he breaks into Mortimer's quarters, arrests him in his nightshirt, and drags him from Isabella's bed. Mortimer is hanged like a common criminal, and Isabella, not executed, not exiled. She's placed in elegant house arrest at Castle Rising, where she lives in luxury for decades. But the gossip doesn't stop. Why spare her? Why let her keep her lands and income? Did Edward still love his mother, or was he afraid of what she might say? Centuries later, some historians whispered, did Isabella know something about Edward's parentage that made her untouchable? Now let's fast forward to Edward in his full kingly glory. By the 1340s, he's everything a king should be. Tall, dashing, fluent in war, rich in propaganda, and dripping in battlefield glory. He's slicing up France like a Sunday roast. But his court? It's spicy. Let's talk about Alice Pears, the infamous mistress who became so powerful she's basically a shadow queen of the 1360s. Alice is young, beautiful, and ambitious. A former lady-in-waiting to Queen Philippa, she becomes Edward's companion in his old age, after Philippa falls ill. But Alice isn't just arm candy. She sits beside him in council, wears Philippa's jewels in public, and is so powerful at court that lawsuits are allegedly decided in her favor because no one dares oppose the king's concubine. Chroniclers despise her. They call her greedy, manipulative, even demonic. One monk describes her as a shameless, impudent harlot. But Edward? He's enchanted. She receives vast estates, tons of money, and even influence over Parliament. And when Edward's health starts falling, guess who flees with the royal rings from his fingers? That's right, Alice allegedly strips the dying king of his jewelry and bolts. Some say she robbed him. Others say she fled out of fear of the new regime. Either way, it's not a great look for the final act of a supposedly glorious reign. Now for a dash of the supernatural, because what would a medieval reign be without a little witchcraft panic? Rumors swirled that Edward's court was filled with astrologers and conjurers. Chroniclers claim that some of his counselors, and even Alice Perrers herself, were dabbling in the occult to stay in power. Some sources say Alice was accused, after Edward's death, of using enchantments to control the king's affections, and some say legal outcomes. Sound familiar? It's a classic misogynistic trope, yes, but also one with medieval teeth. Was Alice really a sorceress or just a savvy woman playing the only game available to her? Either way, the rumors stuck, and Parliament eventually banned her from court. So where does that leave us? Edward III is often painted in shining armor, the Golden Age king who gave us the Order of the Garter, military glory, and the seeds of the 100 Years' War. But behind the shining shield was a man shadowed by whispers. Was he really his father's son, or a French king's grandson by another route? Did he execute Mortimer to take power, or bury a dangerous truth? Did he love Alice, or was he just another man undone by beauty and ambition? Edward III left England stronger, but also deeply fractured. The seeds of the Wars of the Roses were sown under his reign, and his son, the Black Prince, died young, leaving the throne to Edward's disastrous grandson, Richard II. But darlings, that's gossip for another day. What did you think, my lords and ladies of intrigue? Was Edward III a golden lion or a gilded puppet? Was Alice Perrers a mistress, a mastermind, or a medieval Melisandre? And did Isabel take the truth of Edward's birth to her grave at Castle Rising? You can share your juiciest royal gossip with me at longlivethequeenpodcast@gmail.com, or slide into my DMs on Facebook or Instagram at longlivethequeenpodcast, or join the Royal Court on Patreon for extended episodes and bonus content. Until next time, stay sharp, stay scandalous, and stay crowned.